What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best lightning druid build in last Epoch season 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of the setup, then I will explain what skills and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for the endgame. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what idols and blessings should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. So, are you ready to become a walking storm? Because this is one of the most electrifying setups in the game, called the Lightning Swarm Blade Druid. This build is an absolute beast which transforms you into a deadly swarm of the blades that rips through the enemies with insane melee speed. It's fast, it's flashy, and it got a high voltage chaotic gameplay. And here's the twist, even though our gameplay revolves around the melee combat, it actually also scales with the lightning spell damage. So we are going to be not only slicing and dicing, but also throwing out magical spells every few seconds. And my most favorite thing about it is that no unique items are required for it to work. But if you got gear like the Stormcard Testament, Kulnivar's Claim, or the Aurora's Time Glass, then this build goes from strong to absolutely busted. And overall we've got high dodge, near permanent stunts, and solid tankiness to keep you alive while you shred. This build is perfect for the endgame, and it is insanely fun to play. So let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Swarm Blade, which is the core of our setup. This skill will turn us into a rapid striking whirlwind of destruction by triggering multiple tornadoes through the Wind Fury strikes, so you can unleash a storm of chaos with every attack. And thanks to passives like the Viper's Call, your Emblade Stash taps into the Serpent Strike skill tree, adding a poison utility and more synergy to your attacks. Also, we got the Endless Pressure and the Grasshopper's Frenzy, which keeps your rage flowing non-stop, letting you stay in the Swarmblade form and keeping the pressure on. Then also we need Crit, so the Needle-like Sting node has you covered by helping you push your critical strike chance closer to the cap. And finally, we're using the Water Strider that gives us a bunch of buffs through the Maelstrom that boost both our offense and survivability. Then second, we got Tornado, which is another core damage dealer in this setup, but with a twist. Instead of scaling its usual damage multipliers, the Tornado will shine by triggering the Storm Bolts through the Charged Storm node, which makes it more of a spell delivery system than a traditional damage over time. With the Eye of Storm passive, all your tornadoes will stick to your character, turning you into a mobile lightning turret that follows enemies and unleashes constant AoE pressure. Then also we got the Churning Orbs that adds even more value by shredding the enemy armor, keeping your rage topped up and tossing in a bit of bonus damage on the side. The next we're using the Maelstrom. The more you have it, the more powerful and versatile you will become. Passives like the Windsweep and Divine Fury will kick things off by granting Frenzy and the Haste, giving you attack speed and urgency. Meanwhile, the Sleet-footed passive will boost your dodge rating, keeping you quick and harder to hit in the chaos. Then the Essence of the Debris adds a hefty chunk of stun chance, letting you lock down enemies with ease. And it's perfect for crowd control and survivability. You'll also gain additional Storm Bolt procs from the power of the storm, adding more lightning damage into the mix. And here's the kicker, with the Rending Vortex from the Gathering Storm tree, your Maelstrom will also become a source of base critical strike chance, turning this defensive buff into an offensive powerhouse. Then next we got the Armblade Slash, which is a fast and spammable strike that taps into the Serpent Strike tree for added synergy. To keep you evasive, Slither and the Shroud of Winter nodes will work together by stacking a massive amount of dodge rating, so you can avoid incoming damage with ease. Then Hydra Strikes takes your damage scaling to the next level by boosting your attack speed and helping you trigger all of these powerful procs faster. And for a little extra defense, the Primal Serpent will summon a minion to assist you with the Mantle of the Pale Axe damage mitigation by adding a nice layer of protection while you deal damage. And then finally, we're using the Gathering Storm, which is crucial for boosting your Storm Bolt damage and giving you that extra punch when it matters the most. Passives like the Exciting Bolt is a must-have, allowing you to convert mana into damage and scaling up our output in a way that keeps you ahead of the curve. Then with the Tempest weapon, you get even more value from the Tempest Maw by amplifying the effectiveness of your weapon buffs and ensuring that you're always at your peak performance. And also, thanks to the Rending Vortex, reaching 100% critical strike chance will become super easy, and this will even further push your damage potential through the roof. Next up we got the passive tree, and this is how it should look like in the primalist category. We mainly went with nodes that gives us bunch of attunement, lightning and cold resistance, increased health, increased spell, cold, lightning and physical damage. Then next we got our shaman category, and we aim for nodes with more attunement, increased attack speed, increased lightning damage, and more to shared spell lightning damage. Then next we also want to go into the beastmaster category, and this time just for this one node that gives us more strength. And then finally we are also heavily investing into the druid category, with all these points allocated like this. So we want to go big on increased endurance, armor, increased damage, more to strength and attunement, increased attack speed, increased crit chance and more to health. Next up we also got the weaver tree, and I'm still experimenting so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it for pretty much most of the builds. We will start right here, then go like this, then pretty much make this type of circle, and then end it at around this point. To make the most out of this weaver tree, we want to aim for items with a higher weaver's will, which could be closer to 25 to maximize potential upgrades. Also, what at least I like to do is run level 100 zones to increase the chance of finding a higher weaver will's item. Then also focus on the monolith timeline with unique echo rewards for the item type you desire. And lastly, you could also increase the timeline corruption to enhance the reward quality even further. But overall, this weaver tree will offer an alternative path to enhancing unique items, which allows you to grow stronger by doing specific endgame content. Next up we got the idols, and this is how it should look like. So we want to get to heretical grand idols that are size 3x1 and with modifiers like increased spell damage while transformed, then increased cold and lightning damage, increased critical strike chance, and more melee and spell damage. Then next we want 4 size 1x3 heretical large nomad idols with modifiers like endurance threshold and health, more elemental resistances while transformed, increased critical strike chance, and more melee and spell damage. And lastly, we want one more size 1x2 stealth weaver idol with lightning penetration and increased damage over time. Next up we got our blessing setup, and this is how it should look like. So we want to go with the Grand Hanger of the Void with some spell damage leech that has health, then the Grand Mysteries of the Deep that has a chance to apply shred lightning resistance on a hit, then also we got Grand Survival of Might that has critical strike avoidance and dodge rating. Next we got the Grand Bulwark of the Tundra with increased armor, and lastly we are using the Grand Body of Obsidian with more armor. Next we have our equipment, and for the head on the helmet we're using the Seed of the Yggdrasil with armor, critical strike multiplier while transformed, more mana and health. This helmet is good because of its high rage sustain, as damage dealt to mana before health will work also with rage. Then for amulet we got the Aurora's Time Glass with health, critical strike multiplier, endurance and increased attack and cast speed. This is for sure one of the best amulets for building a strong defense. Then for weapon we are using the Kul Nivar's Claim with a melee and spell damage, increased attack speed, increased lightning spell damage and more mana regen. We went with this one because it helps us to cap critical strike chance, as mana converting to ward when full does not affect rage. Then for the chest we got the Mantle of the Pale Ox with armor, more levels of tornado, increased spell damage while transformed, and increased strength and movement speed. Then also for the offhand we got the one-handed axe, but for some reason this website would not allow me to add it. So just so you would know, we are using the Tempest Maw of the Acid one-handed axe with increased melee attack speed, critical strike multiplier, and a chance to shred armor on a hit. We went with this one because of the Tempest weapon passive. Then for a ring we got the Phantom Grip with increased critical strike chance, increased spell damage and more attunement. This will significantly boost our critical strike chance and increased crit chance. The mana will scale with extended bolts and give us more levels to the Swarm Blade form. Then for the belt we got the Brewmaster Buckle with a health and increased health, as well as vitality and endurance. Then for our second ring we got the Ivory Ring with necrotic resistance, attunement, more void and poison resistances, as well as increased spell damage. Then for gloves we got the Rule of the Simon with armor, void resistance, increased melee attack speed and fire resistance. Because of these gloves we are going to be able to cast extra tornadoes, which will trigger automatically. Then for boots we got the Transient Wrist with armor, increased movement speed, and physical, poison and necrotic resistances. And lastly for relic we got the Storm Carved Testament with physical resistance, mana, more to spell lightning damage and lightning resistance. So overall, this is the best case scenario setup, which would be more of an example of what stats and modifiers to look for. But no matter what you have, try to build around increasing attunement and mana, as our storm bolts will significantly scale from them. And now finally we've come to the gameplay, and this build is very simple, so I will summarize both AoE and single target rotations in one package. At the start of our fights we are going to shift into the Swarmblade form and get ready to unleash chaos. So use dive on cooldown to stack up as many maelstroms as possible by maximizing the power of the buffs they provide. Then go on the offensive with the Armblade Slash by triggering a flurry of tornadoes that stick to you and tear through the enemies in a whirlwind of destruction. And then when it's time for boss fights, then focus on keeping all of your defensive buffs active for maximum survivability. And don't forget to use the dive or evade to dodge those deadly telegraph boss attacks, because staying mobile and unpredictable is the key to staying alive. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my previous top 3 best builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.